How are you? I've got quite a few things to say. I do not know where to start. I'm going to say, out of this Zanopy of children that I'm meeting, I am struggling and failing to find any one of them who has got sense. Any one of them who thinks for country, who understands that being a child of a Zanopy of chef, having access to power of the country, it is a responsibility, the privilege that you have as ZANU PF, stronghold, whatever you think you are. It's a privilege that is a responsibility. You have got a responsibility to the country. Okay. A few weeks ago, God was speaking to me about these ZANU PF children. And he was just speaking to me in passing. He says, you know what? He says, I'm going to judge them because of their, what's the word that God used? Can't remember the actual word, but the meaning is this. It says he's going to judge them because of their selfishness. Selfishness is not the word I'm looking for. It's like they don't care about the poverty and suffering around them. All they are concerned about is wealth accumulation for themselves. Whilst at the same time, if you're holding political power, you must know that you are holding it on behalf of the whole country. Okay? You mustn't look at it as in like, oh, we are the conquerors, we conquered the country. You didn't conquer the country. The country gave you power. The country gave you the responsibility to build for all of us. So if you've got the national coffers, it is your responsibility to figure out a way in which it will end up being in the hands of the majority. But because you have got that access, you have decided to keep it yourselves only. I've said it before. You're like somebody who's cooking meat. There's 10 kids, and you have there's 10 pieces on the pot. Instead of dishing out one piece for each child, no. You take that one piece and you cut it into 10 pieces. You take 9 pieces and you keep them for yourselves. That's what your fathers are doing with ZANU PF children. And you, as children of ZANU PF, you are, instead of seeing the sin of the fathers, now I understand why the Bible says people can be punished with the 10th generation. It is because so are the fathers, so are the children, so are the grandchildren. It's the same zonke wonke fanana. I am struggling, totally struggling to find ZANU PF kids. I am interacting with them. I'm struggling to find ZANU PF kids that have got sense, that think about the country. There's these ones with fake British accents, those ones that they call themselves Barakashi, and so disgusting, their mannerism and the way that they are so self-censored, so self-centered, and so, you know, what is the word that I'm looking for? There's words that I'm looking for, but the moment I'm looking at video, that disappear. So self-serving, you know, ignoring the plight of others and making it as if it does not exist, or it is the poor people's fault that they are poor. The fault of the poor Zimbabweans is that they gave you ZANU PF power. Now here's the thing that we have to do. As a representative of poor Zimbabwean, I myself, Ngobani Zondo, will lead them to remove you from power, because that power is not yours by right. It was given to you benevolently by the Zimbabweans, so that at least there's one person who does something. Just like when you are cooking in the kitchen, not everybody goes to the kitchen to cook. But don't they one person cooks, and that person who's cooking cooks for everyone. So if we make you the cook, it doesn't mean that the pot is yours. It doesn't mean that the meat is yours. You are just the cook. So cook for all of us. Dish for all of us. Because we are refusing to dish for all of us, we are rightfully justified to remove you from the pot. Whichever way, there is nothing illegal. Whichever way we remove you, whether it's through election or it's through other means, whether it's through a vote of no confidence or whatever it is that we do, because at the end of the day, it is our pot. It is my pot. And all the other Zimbabweans, the pot is ours. And you, ZANU PF, you have actually eaten all the pieces in the pot for yourselves when we just made you the cook. So we are going to replace the cook. And don't ask me how we're going to replace the cook. Just know that your arrogance, it is your arrogance that has led the people to do what the people are going to do. Your arrogance, Chete. When you went to the Lancaster House, conference, and the British gave power to the black Zimbabweans away from the white led government, one would have thought that that liberation would bring about a change or a material change in the lives of black people. But no, ZANU-PF saw it fit that what the white oppressors were doing was not enough. In fact, they must make it 3 times more. Robert Mugabe went into a killing spree in Matebeleland during Kukurawindi. I was born in 1985, during the height of that Kukurawindi. Perhaps it makes me feel that the devil was trying to remove my generation, because we know of mothers that were killed with babies in their stomachs. So it means the devil was targeting our generation. So when I'm looking at people that were born in 1982 to 1987 to 89 there in Matebeleland, and I'm seeing what Kukurahund did during that time, and knowing how spiritual these devil worshippers in Harare are, it makes me see and correctly understand that the devil saw something from the kids that are going to be born in 1980 to 1988 in Matebeleland. There is something that the devil saw that he did not like, and so he permitted Robert Mugabe to commit a massacre so that we will not live. Well, some of our brothers and sisters who were born there in that area died, and their parents, they died, but not all of us died. Some of us are remaining behind. Just like in the times of Moses, when the devil sent a word that when the young people were killed, or just like when what's the name, Rebecca was crying for the little ones. It's in the same breath, the devil wanted to kill us, but we got to live. You know, some of us are stammering because the devil doesn't want us to take out the message that we have, but we're gonna speak, stammering or no stammering. We're gonna speak, and we're gonna do that which has to be done. It is time for Bulawayo to rise, for Bulawayo to rise. It's time for the people of Matebeleland to say enough is enough of this Harare nonsense. You can't have a granite country for 43 years failing, absolutely failing for everyone. You see, if you want to fail for yourself, fail for yourselves. As for me and my house in Zimbabwe, we are not failing anymore. I said, as for me and my people, we are not failing anymore. You know, come, whatever you think I'm saying is whatever it is. I'm not failing anymore. I'm not failing my people anymore. And I'm not letting people who fail my people anymore. That's enough. So therefore, understand this is an OPF children. Because your parents are dead. Robert Mugabe is dead, probably in hell. Joshua Tongakara is dead, also probably in hell. Or Nathan Shamarara dead. All of those Chihuri dead. All of them. Most of them are dead. It's only Chiwenka and Emerson Mnangagwa that is left. What we're dealing with now is an OPF children, the second generation. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you as an OPF children. My name is Ngobani Zondo. I don't allow you to run Zimbabwe anymore. And I'm putting a judgment on you that because of what you, instead of confessing the sins of your fathers, but no, you want to double down and do more than what your fathers were doing. Because of that, a coalition of Zimbabweans is going to come against you. A coalition of the Ndebeles in Matebeleland, together with the Tonkas in Binga, together with Mazezurus in Mashonaland, together with the Manikas in Manikaland, and other people in the country. Group yourselves as your people. Okay. Each to his own, and eyes on Harare to say enough is enough. ZANU-PF will made you a cook for the pot that was supposed to feed everybody else, not anymore. We remove you from that position of being a cook. We will see what we will do with our pot ourselves. We're looking for people in Manika land who are going to say Manika is all going to die because ZANU-PF is mismanaging the economy. We're looking for Mazezuru who are going to say Isusu is Mazezuru. We're not going to let this nonsense happen in Harare because some people who think that because they have access to the pot, they want to eat on their own. We come now as a coalition of families, a coalition of peoples around the country, and create a country that is based on equal standing for all people, a country that works for all people, a governance system that works for all people, not just the few, not just the family of the president and the connected few, but all of us. So ZANU-PF, it is a shame that as a black-led uh, political party, you would think that Africa renaissance or the growth of Africa is going to happen because a black man has arisen and is now able to lead himself, shaking himself from the shackles of colonialism, of white colonialism. It turns out that in actual fact, the very same black people that need to be emancipated need now to be emancipated from their own fellow blacks. And guess by who? Guess getting help from who? From King Charles. Of course, yes, I said it. I would rather have King Charles be Lord over me than Mnangagwa have be Lord over me. We gave Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF 43 years to lord over us. But look what they have done to our livelihoods. Look at us now in foreign countries. We are cheap labor with a zero chance of upward mobility because we're told that we're foreigners, we're queries, we're not allowed to do this, we're not allowed to do that. Then when you go to your country, you discover that your tribe is also oppressed. And even if you are the tribe of the ruling party, you are still gonna be oppressed. Opportunities are closed. When you try to build something, they come on a Torah. And then you begin to see that no, these people are holding to power because they say they are the soldiers, they are the police, they are the CIO, they are everything. So nobody can do anything to them, right? Are you right about that? Ian Smith also thought that he's a white man. He's a British. So are the apartheid whites in South Africa. They thought that they are white, they are European, they're gonna have support from white European, they're gonna have support from the United States. Was it not the United States, Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher, who said enough is enough and made a move and apartheid ended in South Africa? I mean, these are talking about white Americans and white British coming against white South African in favor of suffering black South Africans. So do not think for any moment that the white people are racist or that the world out there cannot do anything when they see Emerson Mnangagwa and the military of Zimbabwe destroying the Zimbabweans. Do not think that the world is just going to watch and do nothing and say, well, let them destroy each other. You are going to see King Charles III arise and say enough is enough. Call it British recolonialism for all I care. I don't care what it is. All I want to see is Britain back in Zimbabwe and the United States back in Zimbabwe, destroying and removing ZANU-PF. So the Zimbabwean military must be very careful. If the Zimbabwean military wants to keep its alliance with Emerson Mnangagwa, know very well that you're going to bring this judgment upon yourself. Because when the judgment comes, those in the military that are in line with Emerson Mnangagwa, that are stealing with Emerson Mnangagwa, that are protecting with Emerson Mnangagwa, will be dealt with and dealt with severely. When King Charles and the regiments of the world, of the global west, of the free world, come upon Harare. Kuzoba kuncane indawo boy. Kuzoba kuncane indawo boy. This rent by Emerson Mnangagwa that we are the soldiers, we are this. Masoldier atsho anoroha ne-NATO, anoroha ne-British military, British intelligence and American intelligence do not play. And you want to say, yeah, the recolonization, exactly, recolonization or recolonization. Jobs, it's going to lead to people opportunities being opened for the black Zimbabweans, and your pride is going to be brought low. God shall bring your pride down. I'm telling you now the truth. Okay, I'm giving you the revelation that God is going to remove you, not me. Don't waste your time coming to me, because even if you kill me, you're not going to kill King Charles. Can you kill the U.S. military? Can we kill the global west? This is the superpower of the world. Do you know what a superpower of the world means? A superpower means to run the whole earth. The United States is the prefect of the whole world. Their job is to run the whole earth on behalf of God. King Charles, his job, the defender of the faith, is to run the whole British colonies, whether the former, whatever. Charles, his job is to run them properly for that. God is gonna ask when King Charles dies, even when as the prince, as the queen is dead, the Lord will ask about the lives of the people in the British Commonwealth. How were they suffering under their watch? So when King Charles' conscience hits him and he says, no, Zimbabweans can't carry on suffering like this when I am their king, he was going to make a change. And Charles said, he's not my king. That's what you are saying with your mouth. The reality is he's king. And kings do not wait for people to tell them what to do. Kings do what kings have to do when kings have to do what that which kings will have to do. And on that day, the pride of ZANU-PF is going to be brought down. But Rakash, these children, they are so spiteful, so proud, so full of this thing that what can you do to us? Who are you? What can you do to us? We've got all the power, we've got authority. What is the Zimbabwean military compared to the global military? We will crush you in no second. It will melt and become nothing all in one day. So be very careful there. And because you know why you are going to be crushed. The foolishness of Emerson Mnangagwa was that he thought that by having an alliance with Putin, he is gonna have power, because now the Zimbabwean military is having these alliances with Putin and China. Who is China and Putin against the rest of the world? Do you know that the US military has got China surrounded in the South China Seas, in Philippines, in Japan, in South Korea, in Vietnam, and now we have got the Quad, the USA, together with India, together with Australia, together with Japan. And Australia is a provider of most of the inputs in the Chinese economy, the minerals of Australia. And Japan is just right there next door to China. And China has been acting funny against India. And now India has got an ally in the United States. So India is safe from China. So China will have itself enemies against itself. China. China will have India against China, USA, Japan, and Australia. That is the Quad military alliance. And who is Mnangagwa relying on? Is relying on China. On this China that is already destroyed, that's already surrounded. And this China's friend is Vladimir Putin, Mnangagwa's friend, that Poroshenko thief, the last dictator of Europe. He's going to be the last one indeed. When we deal with him, Poroshenko, Vladimir Putin, and Xi Jinping are going to get out of Harare. Xi Jinping, at least they are better. The Chinese are quiet these days. They are really quiet and they are doing their thing. Though there's a lot that they're doing bad in Zimbabwe. Unlike their friend Vladimir Putin, who is invading countries, sovereign nations, he is at a very dangerous spot, that Putin. So as the North Atlantic Treaty Organization and the Quad come against Vladimir Putin and China, the allies of Emerson Mnangagwa, where does that leave you, or ZANU-PF? Where does that leave your clothing, that we are the military, we are the intelligence, we are the police, we are everything? What shall you be, or Emerson Mnangagwa, on the day when China will not be willing to defend you because China is already surrounded? On the day when Vladimir Putin is captured and Poroshenko will not be able to heal you, and on the time when the global superpowers come to Harare? Are you gonna gloat and say, tiri military, tiri CIO? I've been telling you what God has been saying, that you, my CIOs, all of you, even in one day, God can destroy you. All of this whole, what do they call it in Zimbabwe, this joint operations committee. I have been talking to you nicely. The word of the Lord, God has been sending me as a prophet to you to tell to you nicely what you must do to Zimbabweans. Open the economy, do this and that, but you are refusing. But you are refusing. I've been telling you that the judgment of the Lord is coming to you, but you are still refusing. The pride of these Barakashis, the pride in them. It's like they believe that they're in this space where nobody can touch them. They're untouchable. Now I'm articulating to you that you are actually touchable and you will be touched. And very soon you will be touched. And do not think that the touching is going to come from me. I'm a prophet of God. I'm prophesying what the Lord is opening my eyes to see. Therefore, the onus is on you, therefore, to be very smart and be very wise. Now, Emerson Nangako and your friends, especially you, ZANU-PF children, your parents are dying. Some of them are dead. You see, you are going to remain behind with you in Zimbabwe. It's now time now you need to start renegotiating your presence in Zimbabwe. How are you going to be playing a role in the coming Zimbabwe? With this pride that these Barakashis have, with this, this blatant selfishness, wanton talk, and just presently unwilling to open the opportunities for the rest of the Zimbabweans. On the day of judgment, who shall stand for you on your side? When the Zimbabweans have finally removed you through the global powers, who shall stand with you, O children of ZANU-PF? You shall be a laughing stock to the whole world. Because even your properties in Canada, in Europe, they are going to be confiscated. You understand? All your wealth, where are you going to hide? You cannot hide in China or Russia, because China and Russia, China is going to vomit you. I think the Chinese are the smartest. Between the Chinese and the Russians, the Chinese are the smartest. The Chinese know when to fight a war, and they know when to avoid a war. And when push comes to shove, and they say that there's no gains here in Harare, the Chinese will give up Nangaku. The Chinese will give up the Zimbabwean military and maintain Chinese dominance, because China is number 2 in the world militarily, number 2 even economy wise. They don't want to go to the abyss all because of Harare. They're going to say, okay, take Harare. USA, Zimbabweans be free. Take Zimbabwe. We're going to keep other African countries. So China is smart. They want to give up on Harare. And we do not know about Putin. It's most likely that he will perish in Harare together with his evil assignment. And this evil assignment is Edim Nangaku, who's going to perish in Harare, whose leadership is going to perish in Harare. So the Zimbabwean military must also be humbled. You see, God started by sending me to ZANU-PF to humble ZANU-PF, but ZANU-PF is not humbled because they're relying on the military. Now I'm telling you that God is sending me to you in the military. You in the military, be humbled. I've been telling you military that you do not need to support ZANU-PF. You don't. You need to support a system that has got order in the country. It doesn't matter whether it's ZANU-PF or it's CCC in power. Oksala, the military is still the military of the country. But because you have taken sides, because the reason why you have taken sides is because you are stealing with ZANU-PF. Now, even God now is about to judge. Holy is that. God says, I must tell you straight, Mr. General Chiwenga and Constantine Chiwenga and Valerio Sibanda. This is what God is going to do in the military of Zimbabwe. It's a very important word of God that God just dropped to my mind right now. It says, I must tell you this thing, that you too have been charged. So God has been protecting you all along, saying, okay, ZANU-PF, ED, the politics, but then the road is moving all the way to the military. And in the military there, you people in the military, you are still not listening to the word of God. Because of that, God shall judge you. Must I take you to history and show you how the military of Japan was judged? Can't you see that we're moving towards some kind of a third world war right now? Can't you see that there's these wars that are going on? When I'm talking about the Quad, US, India, Japan, and Australia. This is a military alliance against China. And the reason why India was roped in is because India and China have got skirmishes. You understand? So India has got a problem of China. China is encroaching itself around India. China has got a military base in Sri Lanka and is surrounding India. China's got India surrounded, and India is not safe around China. Therefore, India had to get a bigger power than China, which is the United States. Okay, United States is a source of income for Chinese economy, and Australia, which is actually the provider of raw materials in China. So we don't even need to use bullets here. If Australia stops exporting to China and USA stops buying and producing in China, the economy of China is gonna go down. The poverty rates in China are gonna increase. The CCP is gonna see another Tiananmen Square, and Xi Jinping's political career is gonna be under threat. And even I wouldn't doubt and even a disobedience within the CCP, within the military of China itself, so that China can be aligned to the West. So you see how screwed China is, and you eating Nangako, you are hoping that China is going to help you. You Zimbabwean military are hoping that China is going to help you. I wanted to tell you about Japan. That after the Second World War, after the US-Japanese war, the Japanese military was destroyed by the United States military, and the United States occupied Japan. Okay, it was a U.S. general that began to come up with a what you call it, a governance of Japan, and then Japan had this miracle that they had in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, when they had all this big technological improvement. So you've got to understand that if you're a military of a country, don't be proud and think that because you are on top of your people, you are above your people, therefore your people cannot do anything to you. No, your people can come up with alliances with other militaries bigger than yours. I'm telling you that as the Zimbabweans, we have a military alliance with the NATO, United States, and the United Kingdom. In fact, King Charles III, it is his mandate because Zimbabwe is part of the Commonwealth. Okay, screw this thing that Zimbabwe was evicted of the Commonwealth. They were not evicted, they were just suspended, meaning that we were actually still part of the Commonwealth, but suspended for a while. So it is King Charles' decision to bring back that suspended Zimbabwe and to do as he please on the British colony, which is removing from power Emmerson Mnangagwa and dealing with the Zimbabwean military that has been in bed with Emmerson Mnangagwa. So you understand that King Charles has got all the rights. By the way, when it comes to military stuff, there's no right or wrong. People can do anything that they want to do. But anyway, because the free world is a rules-based order, King Charles III has got the right to come up with a system that is going to get ZANU-PF out of power because he's king. Don't say you're not taught. So you were Rakashis and all those ZANU-PF people with all your pride that they're not going to do anything to us. We're going to Vision 2030. There is no Vision 2030. Do you think that do you think that United States and the Europeans are going to tolerate this China rise in Africa? Do you think that Europe is going to allow Vladimir Putin to steal resources from Africa, including Zimbabwe, and use those resources to prop up his military, to invade Ukraine, invade Poland, invade Germany, invade France, invade England? So do you think that as Europe is watching that Emmerson Mnangagwa, oh my God, do you understand? Do you see where I'm going? Europe cannot watch Emmerson Mnangagwa taking Zimbabwe's resources and giving them to Putin so that Putin can destroy Europe. I'm saying Europe cannot watch Emmerson Mnangagwa in Harare giving the resources of Zimbabwe to Putin so that Putin can use those resources to fund his war against NATO and the whole of Europe, the whole of England, the whole of the United States, Canada, the free world. Do you think that they're going to watch and say, we're not going to do anything to Emmerson Mnangagwa because, no, they will crush you, E.T., because right now, Mr. E.T., you're no longer just an enemy of the Zimbabweans. No, because you can crush me, you can bring your people here, try to kill me, but E.T. Mnangagwa and the Zimbabwean military, here's a mistake that we have made. You are now an enemy of NATO. You are now an enemy of the European Union. You are now an enemy of the United States, because you are aiding and abetting the war in Ukraine through facilitating Vladimir Putin's stealing of resources in Zimbabwe. And for that reason, that is going to be the entrance to Zimbabwe. That is the justification for the NATO forces, British forces, and American forces for invading Zimbabwe, doing Gaddafi style to Idi Mnangagwa, doing Iraq style to like Saddam Hussein. The justification is that Vladimir Putin is using Emerson Mnangagwa as his agent to steal the resources of Zimbabwe and uses those resources to beef up his military war against Europe. So Europe is justified and NATO is justified to fight Vladimir Putin, not only in Ukraine or Russia, but also in the sources of income. Because you see, we've had sanctions against Vladimir Putin. They're not enough. They have to get deeper now, because now we have to get deeper. Where does Putin get his wealth from? Bombing Nord Stream 2 was not enough. We need to bomb that Nord Stream Zimbabwe, that Harare Nord Stream, Harare to Moscow needs to be bombed. How to bomb that one? You remove ZANU-PF from power. NATO invades Zimbabwe, removes ZANU-PF from power. The Zimbabwe military is nothing, just like the Japanese military was nothing after the Second World War. You see, why am I saying Zimbabwe military is nothing? Because they are stubborn. I've been telling them the word of the Lord, what they must do, but they are refusing, completely saying, I don't think the day when NATO is coming to Harare and fighting Putin through fighting Emerson Mnangagwa and removing ZANU-PF, Emerson Mnangagwa, the Vice President, Konstantin Chiwenga, and actually occupying the state. And then on that day you shall know that holy is the Lord and great are his judgments, and you shall listen to anybody who comes in the name of the Lord. On that day you shall know that great is the King of Kings, and he speaks through his prophet. Taneta nakushayinirwa nebarakasha, taneta nakushayinirwa nembavha zokuharara. Ime munofanira kuziva kuti muri kurana nyika for munhu wese, not just for yourselves. Take a look at what Mnangagwa has done to the country ever since 2017 when he took over. Things have gone bad to worse. I was in Zimbabwe last December. It's terrible. It is terrible. The roads beyond repair. Everything is just falling apart. But Urukozo one be like, what is this guy's name? This is Mnangagwa's friend. What is this guy who goes to the SDA? I was listening to this video of Twagirei telling people that he is doing well financially. He said, I was doing well. How can you say you're doing well, making millions in a country where everybody is suffering? It's because you're doing well is what causes everybody else to suffer. So as they are saying, Guti, platinum kuputika, chrome kuputika, and there's this new material, this one, what is it one for copper batteries? Also lithium, kuputika. They were busy, but kuputika for who? For you and Putin. And Putin also have got has you on the neck. You're also slaves to Putin, because all the wealth is going to Russia and China so that they can fight the Western world. So the Western world will be justified to remove the ZANU-PF, and it will be removed. And this gloating is going to come to an end. What is the Lord? This gloating, you're going to Tirima CIO, Tirima soldier. What can they do to us? I'm telling you, Zimbabwe military, God is showing me right now. He's saying, I must tell you, your military power in Harare is going to melt in one day. It's like what the Lord is showing me. It's like this heat, this hot things that just comes. It's so hot that the metal melts. The weapons of the Zimbabwean military. Okay, this is a symbolism that God is giving me right now as I'm speaking to you. Like some kind of a wave. It looks like a wave. It just comes like voo. And I think the Zimbabwean military tanks, they just melt all of a sudden. They just melt and become nothing. Okay. On that day, when God invades Zimbabwe, the Zimbabwean military will melt. They will not do anything. They will melt. We cannot call Russia. We cannot call China, because the Quad has got China surrounded. You have got Russia also being pursued in Harare. In fact, why the world is going to come to Harare is because they are pursuing Russia. Your friends. Itim Mnangagwa and the Zimbabwean military. Your friends. You make a mistake. I've been talking to you for more than 1.5 years. The Lord is patient. The Holy Spirit is patient. He has been sending me to make these messages to you for over, and none of you has reached out and say, what is the Lord say we must do? None of you know, but we're carrying on thinking that we are clever. We're going to steal from these Zimbabweans. And here's the questions I must make this clear. What your sin is. Your sin is your refusal to share with the rest of the Zimbabweans. That is it. That is exactly what God says I must say so that I can close this video. Your sin in the Zimbabwean military is your refusal to share. You see, you've got these countries that are run by militaries that also refuse to share, like Pakistan, like this other one in Africa, Sudan, the northern Sudan, and also the southern Sudan, but southern Sudan is becoming better. These economies that are run by military generals, also Egypt is one of them. The military generals who want to have a monopoly on the whole economy to the destruction of the whole economy. You understand what I'm talking about? So those military generals, because they have got the military weapons power, so and the other sovereign countries like Britain, USA, the West, they let them be because of United Nations peace protocols, sovereignty, and stuff like that. Therefore, these militaries like the Zimbabwe military, the Sudan military, and the Egyptian military, and the Pakistani military. So they find that loophole and begin to oppress their people, even though the US military is bigger than the Zimbabwe military. They find that loophole in law to say that they're not going to invade a sovereign state. Well. In a rules-based society, rules can be found, or a way can be found in which you can be removed, especially in this time around when the war is against Putin, when the whole world is at risk. The peace of the world is at risk because of what Putin is doing to Europe. And what Putin is doing to Europe, he is taking his power from where? From Africa. From African countries. South Africa is also one of them. Putin is having his tentacles in South Africa, and Zimbabwe is one of them. So you are seeing that as the global powers, the guys who run the United Nations, that run this whole earth, now in order to maintain peace, they have to fight Putin, who is the rogue president of the world, who's leading a rogue nation. And also all these nations that come under Putin, all these rogue leaders, you discover that all the leaders that support Putin or who vote in the United Nations, who abstain in the United Nations, which is essentially voting for Putin, are all led by corrupt countries. Take a look at the ANC, corruption. All the countries that are corrupt, that are rogue, all the presidents that are rogue are siding with Putin. So this World War III is a war between righteousness and evil, between the right and the bad. And the bad are being led by Putin. And China is making a mistake of sleeping in bed with Putin. If the Chinese are very clever, they will quickly cut their losses and get out of that Russian pivot and join the global West. For China to protect its industries, to protect its industrialization, to protect itself as as a global supplier, as a factory of the whole world. Otherwise, if China is aligning itself with Russia, whether they are saying it vocally, explicitly, or implicitly, as long as we see that there's an implicit move by China to support Russia, the West will make a move. We, in the side of righteousness, we will make a move and judge China. We shall use Australia, as I told you, that Australia is the import factor into the Chinese economy. The United States is the export factor, the Chinese economy. And Japan supports that technological imprint, and also geographically located around China, and India also there next to China. So because India now is a global powerhouse and is also can be substituted when it comes to manufacturing can be switched from China to India, and India is a benevolent state. It's not a crazy, it's not a rock country like like Russia. So the Chinese are in the middle. They need to be very serious and come up with a decision whether you want to be part of the global West, free world, and make money and live peacefully, or you want to be part of the rogue nations led by Vladimir Putin and be totally destroyed. So that is what China has to decide. And if China decides to side with Russia, their predicament is very simple. Their economy is going to come crashing down because they will not be able to sell to the global West, and they will not be able to get their inputs properly from Australia. So, hence, the military alignment of Australia, India, Japan, and the United States is important in forcing China to do the right thing. And Vladimir Putin, I feel like he's at lost cause. There's nothing we can tell him to change. I think he's just at lost cause. He's just gonna be who he is, and the the global powers are going to pursue Putin not only in Ukraine or Russia but also in Africa, starting in Zimbabwe, where Mnangagwa is, and all the leaders that are in alignment with Russia and Vladimir Putin need to make a decision not to be non-aligned anymore. Because to me, being non-aligned means being pro-Russia, means being corrupt and being anti a global order of peace and prosperity. But you want to bring anarchy to the world. You want to bring a global superpower led by China and Russia that is going to imprison the whole earth. That's going to that's going to uh, 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 erase all the gains that we have gained as the collective world. We have gained a lot when it comes to human rights, women's rights, minority rights of minorities, whether it's sexual minorities, whether it's minorities like black people, human beings have got more rights now than they had 100 years ago, than they had 200, 300, 400 years ago, because the globe has been coalescing around good people. And so, with these bad actors like Russia, should not be allowed to rise, because when they rise, we will have a global tyranny. And China has to be aware that we are aware of the tyranny of the CCP in China, and that tyranny in China will not be allowed to be spread all over the whole world. And we know already about Russia, how Vladimir Putin and these oligarchs took the resources that were owned by the Soviet state, and the corruption that was involved in creating these oligarchs like Abramovich, who now owns Chelsea. So if you're a Zimbabwean and you support Chelsea, you're supporting your own suffering, because the owner of Chelsea is a Russian oligarch who's part of the system of oppression with the Zimbabweans. So I cannot support Chelsea as a Zimbabwean. I'm sorry. So that is what I'm gonna leave you. The thought that I'm gonna leave you with there in Harare. There is an escape door. However, God will always create an escape door for you when He's telling you how He's gonna destroy you. The escape door is do right. I'm giving you some time to think about what is it, what does it mean to do right? To do right is to share with the rest of the Zimbabweans. Otherwise, the Lord God Almighty will bring upon you a war that you will not win. Holy is God. My name is Ngobani Zondo. I am signing out from Cape Town, speaking on behalf of the Lord, who is my Father, and I am His prophet. Goodbye.